$1 million mindset. Hey everybody, it's Mitch with Elevated Business, and we have Brett with Execom in the studio today. Are you ready to learn how you can get $1 million mindset and overcome anything? Let's get into it. Welcome to Elevated Business, where I'm your host, Mitch Hardington. Join me on a captivating journey as we unravel the real stories of entrepreneurs. Mastering the art of business, because success is not just about the destination, but the remarkable journey it takes to get there. Welcome back to our third episode of Elevated Business. We have Brett in the studio with us still, and Brett has been absolutely slaying it with incredible information, nuggets of gold. If you're an entrepreneur, an aspiring entrepreneur, or there's entrepreneurs in your family, this is the podcast for you. So Brett, I really want to get into mindset. It's a big thing people talk about nowadays, and I think, there's these TikTok famous people who give their, mindset definition. They give their mindset definition that is like super fluffy. It's like, mindset is important. But I'm super curious as to you and your journey and your entrepreneurship. Like, how did mindset play into everything, and why was it so pivotal to get you to where you are?
That's an awesome question. This is a great topic. Well, thank you for having me back, and I will do my best to make this not fuzzy or fluffy or ambiguous. It's tough too with mindset, I think, because it's such an individual thing. Mm-hmm. But for me, I went through some pretty tough and painful learnings early in my career as an entrepreneur, and I think, in fairness, have had some of those things still happen unexpectedly as I've gotten more experienced. But the mindset of expectation, I guess that's probably the right word for me to frame this with, is that if we are doing anything with a mindset of expectation, then we have something that we can be let down with or by. And so I think it's helpful, not just in business, but in general, to let go of expectation. And this is obviously much easier said than done, but it really helps if you're stuck in traffic, or if you're dealing with something that just is one of life's crappy elements that there's no way out of it. You're gonna go through it. So why go through it feeling like it could be better? Just to accept it and let go of an expectation of what you think things should be. So I guess tying it back to business, it's really easy to lay out a plan and a forecast and get excited about what you think a market opportunity is. And then once things start moving, it really doesn't go that way. And it's easy to feel let down by that. And I've felt that. But having seen how tough it is to forecast anything, I mean, apart from if you have huge data sets and you've been doing it for a long time, of course, but in the entrepreneurial realm, that almost never happens. Mm-hmm. So in that experience of just things not going as we expect that they should and feeling bad about it, I would say that really, for me, is one of the really key pieces for mindset, is to just not have expectations.
Yeah, I love that, because in like my world, in the real estate investing world, we do as much market research as we can. We have our pro formas, but the second like the money hits the road, it's like you take it and you throw it out the window and you're like, well, here we go. Like, that's what we're aiming for. But it's so true, because if you expect a result, and especially if you put like a time frame on something, like say you're a founder or a business owner, you're like, I want to make my first million by 25. And 25 rolls around, and say you've made 950, right? That's like an incredible success. But you had the expectation of $1 million by 25, so now you think you're a failure.
That's an awesome example. I think that sums up so many of the experiences that I've personally had, and that I see people around me having every single day, where if you grabbed a 22-year-old and said, would you be happy if you had $950,000 or if you made $950,000 in the next 3 years? Most of them would freak out and be like, oh my God, is that even possible? But I think you really just, you captured the spirit of that, the downside, the trade-off of having expectations. It's great to set goals, it's great to target and measure, but if we hold ourselves to some of these things that are very external to whatever our capabilities or our inner state is, then it gets really tough. And I'm not suggesting that we should have no standards and that we shouldn't hold people who are in the environment of our business to some reasonable expectations. But I think for us personally, and in the spirit of this episode being on mindset, for me at least, nothing helps cultivate a healthy mindset like letting go of expectation and embracing the things that come to us along the way.
Yeah, I've never like thought of expectation that way, because I've always thought of it as like, you know, setting timelines. But I love the way you framed it. It's really good to still set objectives, because you want things that you're driving towards, like you want goals. But unless it absolutely needs to have a due date on it, of something like, if it doesn't happen by this day, like that's it, game over, then, you know, don't over expect things to happen. Know that it's going to have the work ethic and the goals and the people to get you there, but just know that it's going to happen in the perfect timing, as long as you're putting in, like we talked about earlier, the time, you're loving it, you've got the dedication, you're building that resilience, and things will happen.
And to that effect, if you get passionate about process, then you almost build in a guarantee that you have a million points along the way to get excited or feel like you won. So for example, if you have this goal of making $1 million, but you say to yourself at the start of that journey, the way I'm going to make the $1 million is by being really good at sales. And I'm going to go down this process-driven journey of measuring myself on how good at sales I am. And even if you don't make the $1 million goal, but you're 10 times better in terms of your closing percentage or your ability to shorten a sales cycle than you were when you started, you'll feel like you won 10 times over. Plus, you'll be able to take those skills and take that process and probably go and make even more money the next time you set yourself down that pathway.
Yeah, amazing. So then let's ask another fun question.
Okay.
Okay. So people ask this a lot, and I think it's a really good exercise for people to do. And you gave me the idea before this episode, but if you could do anything in the world, money wasn't an option, you didn't have to think about money anymore, and you could do anything you wanted, what would it be?
Such a great question, such a hard question. And I know the first time I went through the thought experiment of answering that, it was difficult. And I think what it does is it forces us to really go down to the most fundamental things that we value. And in life, most of what we try to accomplish is based on the idea of outcomes or incentives. And sometimes they're not really aligned with what we truly value, which is crazy, because I think we get good at process, we get good at productivity, and if we miss the necessary connection between what we deeply value and what the outcome of all this effort and planning and executing is going to be, then like that's kind of a tragedy. So my, I guess, way that I conceive of my answer to that question is that I try to think from my childhood version of myself, what would I be doing? Like when I didn't have to worry about bills and kids of my own and business is growing and clients, what were the things that I was generally running outside. I was going and exploring, getting down on the ground, looking at things. I had this weird habit as a kid of reading encyclopedias. And it's great for Jeopardy as an adult, but I don't think it really translated into anything, certainly when I was going to university, that was useful in the context of formal learning and getting into the business world. Maybe I should have been a trivia game entrepreneur. In any case, that enjoyment of just seeing new information and learning and exploring, that was really what I came back to. And so I'm really grateful, and I feel really fortunate to be doing the business that I'm doing now, which is that. Execom is literally working with all these different startups where every week I've got a handful of different businesses that we can't work with all of them, unfortunately, but the ones who we do take on, those are generally because I'm really interested in what they're doing, and I'm just like, I want to be immersed in that. I want to do that, and I would do that for no money. Sorry to my clients who I charge, you know, it is still a business, but I think for me that was the answer. Yeah. Is if I had all the money in the world, then why would I do stuff for money? I wouldn't. I would do all the things that I'm just passionate about doing. Yeah. And so the little life hack there for the Twitter fluffy folks that are in the audience is that if you start with what you would do for free and that you would be happy doing for free, then you can probably find a path forward with that will eventually lead to money. The hard part is that you have to go through a period of probably having no money, people telling you suck, feeling like it's never going to work. But if you can fight through that stuff, the prize couldn't be bigger.
I absolutely am just so thankful that you gave that to our audience, because for me personally, it was one of the greatest exercises I ever did, when it was like, what would I do if money didn't matter? Like, what would I do? And the golden nugget you said of go back to when you were a kid, right? Because that's when you were the best dreamer. That's when you were the happiest, like when you were in those like formative years. Like, what did you love to do? What were things that excited you? Take that and put that into today's world, because there are so many people that are doing what they don't love, right? And I think it's a tragedy, like you said.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, I feel like I owe a few caveats to people in the audience that I get it. Like, we've got bills to pay. Circumstances don't always make it, I think they never make it convenient, but I think they don't always make it even possible for somebody to go in that direction and say, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna just like do what I'm passionate about and do it until it works.
Yep.
If you have a family to provide for and if you have other responsibilities, I don't recommend doing it. Not in that extreme way, but if you can find a little piece like where you can get started with it, you know, get your own podcast going or make something that is shareable and start getting feedback from other people. And soon enough, people will be coming asking for advice or asking if they can buy it from you. And I mean, that's how some of these things become amazing. I don't want to do an overdone example, but Mr. Beast. I think he's amazing, and I think he's an example of that.
Yep. Yeah, and I actually want to give you some credit there too, because you're actually living that. You lived that. There was a part in your life, and I remember from your story where you're like, there's no money right now, I need to go get a job. So you went and got a job so you could provide while you continued to go after what it is you wanted. And now full circle, you're kind of doing it, right? So
yeah.
I think that speaks a lot to your character.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, thank you for that feedback and for seeing it in that light. And I do think that there is character that gets built on a journey like the one that I've been on. But I think it can't really be stressed enough that it's all of those things that didn't work. It's all of those painful learnings and just a willingness to come back and take more of it. And until things started to work. And I joke about this, that if some of my earlier businesses were bigger successes, I would never have ended up where I am now. And I might be one of those people who has crazy amounts of money, but really isn't happy. And I think the irony of all this is that I'm immersed in money-making activities day and night that are not about the money for me. It's about the context and the subject matter, and I literally will probably be doing this for free after my pile personally is big enough and I've delivered to investors in a meaningful enough way. But this is it. You know, right now I feel like it cannot get better than this. And if it does, then that's phenomenal. But I'm so grateful for every client, every business that they're coming up with an idea for, every problem that pops up and teaches us things along the way. And I feel like the guy who got to win the lottery and didn't have the bad outcome that came along with it.
Yeah. So I don't know if the audience is catching this right now, but something that I'm pulling out of this is be grateful. Right? Be grateful for where you are, be grateful for what's happening, be grateful for everything around you. And the more gratitude you get to express, the happier you get to live.
1000%.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, episode 3, like 1, 2, 3, I'm going to go back and watch these. I get the privilege of being able to sit in the room with you right now, Brett, but I am so excited to be able to go back and watch these because there are some amazing things in here to not only help you in your business, but also just to help you maybe on a personal note, help you as a person, to help you become a better person in whatever kind of environment you're in. So that's a wrap for episode 3. And if people want to get in contact with you, how could they do that?
Yeah, it's Brett, B-R-E-T-T, at Execom, E-X-E-C-O-M.ca.
Awesome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one. As we conclude this episode of Elevated Business, I'm Mitch Hardington, reminding you that every challenge is a stepping stone to greatness. Stay tuned for more stories of entrepreneurs who are shaping their destiny. Until next time, elevate your business and dreams.